Welcome to an operating session on my layout. It's September 2019, and this might be the last operating session on the full layout. Stay tuned. Hi, I'm Steve Boyko. Welcome to my operating session. As I mentioned in the intro, this may be the last operating session on the full layout. I'll explain. I've run several operating sessions on this layout, both solo and with other people, and a couple of things have come to light that I don't like about the current layout. There are two major ones. The first is that it is a multi-level layout. The main part of the layout is single level, but the staging is stacked, as you can see behind me, with CN here on the bottom, pointing, and CP on the top. That necessitates a steep climb and descent for CP, which has caused some operating issues in terms of CP not being able to make the climb. And at the summit, especially on this side of me, there have been some separations with some runaway cars, which are not good. You would be amazed at how fast the car can go after whipping around the curve. It can whip right through Georgetown and start climbing the other side. So that's not a good thing. So I don't like that. The major thing is the duck under. Because this is designed as a continuous run layout, I have a duck under that crosses the doorway to this room. The problem with the duck under, other than the obvious you have to get underneath it, is this room is also my office where I do my work. So I am in and out of this room multiple times per day, and every time I go in or out, I have to crawl under that, or duck under that duck under. And the duck under is about, well, mid chest height for me. So it is definitely a duck and not a knot under. So it is an issue. And where I'm just about to turn 52, I'm getting tired of ducking under it. And that has to go. So after this operating session, I'm getting the saw out and I'm cutting that duck under out. And then we'll start planning on what to do with the rest of the layout. I may remove the whole thing and start over, or I may adapt and put a bridge in, maybe, but something has to be done about the staging as well. So let's go operate, and as I operate, I'll discuss some of the operating issues that I've had, and maybe think of some solutions while I'm running trains. Let's go. Our first train is CP976, coming off of the Minnedosa subdivision, and it will be coming out of the staging you see here. So here's the train in the staging. As you can see, it's quite tight quarters here. Not a lot of space. But that's okay, because all we need to do is to have a train go out through the portal there. It's a bit of a crawl to get in here, so often I never actually come in here. I just back the train in from the outside without crawling in, and I hope it doesn't derail. So far it has never derailed. CP976 has its usual power, which is CP4238. Here's its card. One thing I've done with the cards is I have made up a little note on all of the functions for the DCC controller, if it has any, and including a very important one, F8 audio mute, so that when I'm not using this locomotive, I can tell it to shut up and it will stop making noise. But since I'm using it right now, I will turn the noise back on. This particular train has one thing to do. At the Georgetown CP interchange, it has to pull SU 70193, which, as you see, is going to be a pain in the butt. All right, let's get this show on the road. I really like the design of the Minnedosa sub. It doesn't take up much space, and it provides a destination for a train, a full train. So it's better in industry. I really enjoyed having the Minnedosa sub. So here we're going to stop so that the brakeman can get out and throw the switch. And then the brakeman would walk along and also throw the next switch for the main line. Now we can come forward and we're going to have to go through the crossing. So you know what that means. That was kind of weird. I held the horn down, but it cut out after a few seconds. So now we'll come out until the caboose is cleared, and then the brakeman, who's been standing there the whole time, will throw the switch to line up for the siding. Now, we need to pull a car from the interchange, which is a real pain. So we're going to put the whole train on the siding, just to make it easy for ourselves. So, back up. A little jerky getting started for some reason. Not quite sure why. You notice I have an all CP rail consist here. CP rail, refrigerator car, gondola, hopper car, box car. It's like a CP rail advertisement here. So now we've left our train on the siding, and the locomotive is now running around it on the main, ringing his bell as he's passing standing cars. And he's going to go down to the other end to access the interchange track. Now what makes this annoying is that the car he wants is the middle car of the three that are standing on the interchange track. He needs to pull the Sioux line car, so he's going to have to pull out two cars and then replace one. Now we're coming into the interchange track to couple up to the car that is standing there. There's three coupled up together. We're going to pull two out, set the Sioux line on the main line, and then put the gray car in the foreground back. I really like this Atlas C424. It's a pretty nice looking locomotive for an early Atlas, and it runs well. All right, we've coupled up. The brakeman is just releasing the coupler between the Sioux and the BN car, and we're ready to back up. I'm at speed step 1 here. You can see that the locomotive is actually moving at speed step 1, pretty slowly. So there we are, we're taking our 2 cars back, and we're going to shove the Sioux onto the main line, and then come back with the NCIX car and put it back again. That's as good a spot as any. Oh, wrong way. My apologies. Now we put the NCIX car back on, and of course we have to couple up with the standing cars. That's a standard railway rule. So we'll couple up to the BN car and then leave them there. Our work in the interchange is done, so we can reline for the main line. Now we have 2 choices on what to do with the Sioux line car. We can either pull a caboose off the rear of the train, stick the Sioux line car on there, and then run around, or we can pull the whole train back and shove it on the front. It's 6 of one, half dozen the other, really. So we have to think of the least amount of moves, because every move takes time, and you want to minimize the number of moves so you can get on the road and get home. Here, what I've elected to do is to pull the caboose off the rear and put the Sioux as the last car in front of the caboose. I'm not so sure this is the least number of moves, but this is what I've chosen to do, so let's run with it. So we've coupled, we'll uncouple the caboose. I like cabooses on the end of freight trains for a couple of reasons. One, because it's nostalgic and kind of cool. And the second is it adds a little bit of operational complexity, because you have to deal with the stupid caboose and you have to make sure it's the last car on the train. So it can really make your moves a little more complicated than they otherwise would be. So we're going to pull through the switch. I think we will not foul the crossing, so we'll make sure of that. No, sadly we're going to foul the crossing, so we have to ring the bell and blow the horn. So we'll come forward, grab the Sioux car, back up through, and attack everything on the end of the train, and then the locomotive will run around to the front and be on their way. Okay, back up. And this time we know we will definitely foul the crossing, so we'll have to blow for the crossing. So now here we're just running around the train. We've put out the train together, lined the switch back to the main line at the other end. Now here we're just going to couple onto the head end and pump up the air and take off. We finished our brake test after pumping up the air in the complete train. We're ready to roll. So we're going to come out of the siding and pause after the whole train clears so that the rear end brakeman can reline the switch for the main line. So here we have the two things that annoy me most about my current layout in one place. One is the grade, and two is the duck under. This locomotive has no real problem with the grade, but a few of the locomotives do have problems and slip. And this one might slip once the whole train gets on the grade, especially since it has to stop on the grade. So now we've lined the switch for the main line, the rear end brakeman's back on, signals to the head end, and we're good to go. You can hear that alcove just opened right up as she's struggling to make the grade. Ease off from the throttle now that the head end is on the flat. Now we're bringing the train into the staging. And that's it for this train. Crew gets a well-earned break. Now we're going to run CN 404, Melville to Winnipeg. It has maximum 9 cars. It has some work to do at Irving Oil in Georgetown. It's going to pull a car and spot a car. And it's going to spot 2 grain cars at the Manitoba Pool elevator. This train has a pretty junky engine on it. It's CN 3125. This is a proud product of the former Yugoslavia, and so it is a poor runner. So I am going to be gunning this locomotive at unprototypical speeds because it might stall otherwise. So here we go. There's no subtlety with this engine. So we're going to spot the pool elevator first. The grain cars are at the end of the train. So we're basically going to drop our caboose on the main line and then shove the 2 grain cars on the rear into the elevator track. So might as well stop right about here and uncouple the caboose. someday. There we go. And then we'll pull ahead and back into the siding. Spot the car right at the elevator. Uncouple after securing handbrakes. Exchange pleasantries with the elevator agent. Wonder what's taking the brakeman so long to uncouple. There we go. And we're ready to go forward. So once we clear the switch, we'll reline it for the main. And then we'll go work Irving oil. So now we're pulling up past the Irving oil spur. We're going to drop off that white tank car and pick up the Irving car. And my good engine has stalled, so I'm going to give it a little unprototypical shove to get it moving. Like I said, not a good locomotive. I would like to point out this Irving car here, which was decorated by my friend Taylor Main, who does excellent modeling work, and I just wanted to spotlight that. I had to knock a bit of dust off the car because it's been sitting out for months on end. I haven't operated this layout since October of 2018, except for a week or two ago when my good friend Caleb Wenzel came and we had an operating session. You can see that on my blog, modeltraingeek.com. And shout out to Caleb for completing his CN engineer training test. Now he can go forth and do the final work on the road to become a CN engineer. So great for him. There's never any doubt in my mind that he would pass, and good for him. I hope to see him on the road sometime. So we're going to take the tank car out, leave it on the main, and then we'll come back with the white car that we're supposed to spot here. So I'm just going to spot this down here somewhere so you can admire Taylor's work some more, and then we'll put the white car in the siding. I'm gunning at unprototypical speeds to make sure this thing doesn't stall. There we go. Spot the car. Now we just have to put our train back together and we're good to go. It's funny how even though I had more work to do with this train, it feels to me like the Minnedosa one took longer. So it's not always a question of how many cars you have, but more how many moves you have. Alright, so we've lined the switch back for the main. We're going to back onto the tank car, and then that's going to back onto the caboose, and then we're good to go. So try not to hit the tank car too hard, except I stalled. And there we go. Back to get the caboose. So now we're on our way out of Georgetown and heading to Winnipeg and staging. Next up is CP 948, Brandon to Winnipeg. This train is going to do a fair amount of switching. You can see here by the train order, it's going to do some work at the CP Express in Georgetown, which is kind of an annoying place to switch. It's got the team track where it's going to pull a car and spot a car, and same idea at the UGG elevator. It's going to pull one car and spot one car. So lots of switching. And it is this train here, 4505, so let's pick that. Select 4505, enter. Toggle our headlight. Good to go. And I've already aligned the switch, so we're ready to go. So as we come into Georgetown, we're going to drop the caboose on the main line and then start doing our work. All of our work is going to be done here through this switch into here. And then we'll be just basically drilling it back and forth, except for CP Express, which is here with the boxcar. That's a facing point move, so that's kind of annoying. And we'll have to deal with that separately. So we'll do the easy stuff first. The team track and the UGG elevator in the background. We'll do those first and then worry about the boxcar. So we actually ended up leaving more than just the caboose in the main line because the last two cars are not involved in the switching here. So I just left them with the caboose on the main. Now we're going in here to pull the gon out because it is leaving, and then that opera window car, the CSX car, center beam flat car, is going to stay. So we'll pull the gon out and stick them on the UGG spur to get them out of the way, and then shove back in. So we've done that move. Now we're going to go couple up to the gon, and we're going to go pick up the cars. Now the crew is very happy because the CP rail car there is the one they're going to spot, but then they're unhappy when they realize that the car that they have to pull is the white car in behind the other Sioux car. So they have to do a little bit of shuffling. So they've got those cars. We're going to assume that the elevator agent or the carman or somebody has taken the handbrakes off, so we're good to go. We'll pull everything out. We have to put that silver Sioux back and the CP rail multi-mark car. So we're going to put them on a couple of cars on the siding so that we can sort things out. So here we're going to spot that Sioux car back at the elevator siding. I know I said I was going to put the Sioux line car on the siding, but as I was continuing to move forward, I realized it made more sense to put it on the main because we're done with it, so it can be hooked up with the rest of the train. And we don't have to pull it off the siding because we're going to need to run around on the siding, so we need that clear. So we're going to go all the way back, spot that Sioux car, come out, put the gon on the main line, and then push the CP rail multi-mark car back in. So now we'll put the gon on the main line since we're done with it. A little farther. Here we go. Uncouple. Conductor will ride the tail end over to here, where he will get off and throw the switch for the train to go back into the industrial area, and he'll ride the car all the way to the end at the UGG elevator. Alright, so the last thing to do is to spot these two boxcars at the Express. So in order to do that, we have to run around them. which is the annoying part. So, how do we run around them? We have to think about that for a minute. So, right now the main line is occupied by our train with the 5 cars, 4 cars, and the caboose. So if we run around these cars, we'll end up with a whole great long string of cars, too many of them. So what do we do? So what I've decided to do here is to shove the entire train together and then leave it on the main, run the locomotive around to the rear of the train, and push it the whole train forward until these 2 cars are back where they are now, and then leave them there, pull the train back into the siding, and then run around the train so that I can then couple onto just the boxcars. Let's see how that works. So we're going to back up, put our whole train together, couple onto the gondola, and keep going all the way till we couple on to the other cars that are back there. And we'll come forward. Could leave it anywhere, it doesn't really matter. But I'm going to come forward a little bit to about here just to make sure I don't foul the switch. And then we'll uncouple here and run around the train. We're going to have to stop here because the switch is lined for the industrial spur, and we don't want to go there yet. Although, if we're thinking about it, maybe we do want to go there and pull that boxcar out while we're here. Let's do that. If we were really smart, we would have pulled it before, but we're not that smart, so we'll pull it out now. We still have to get it around on the other side of the locomotive, but we'll figure that out. Come in here, slow. That didn't work, that didn't couple. Conductor, line the couplers up a little better this time. We're going to fire the conductor pretty soon. There we go. Got it. Okay, release the handbrakes. Crank, crank, crank. And then we're good to go. Taking handbrakes off is a lot easier than setting them, that's for sure. Alright, so we'll come out and then we're going to run around the train. So we have to come out here enough to clear the switch for the spur, throw it, and then run around on the siding. And we derailed. Excellent. Now, while we're here, we decided maybe we should tack the boxcar on the rear of the train. So we're going to go up here and take the caboose off, put the boxcar on the rear, and then put the caboose back on. Save us from coming back here again. It's all about saving moves. Drop the caboose there. And then we'll go put the boxcar on the tail end of the train, and then get the caboose and put it back on the tail end of the train. Now that we've put the train back together with the boxcar in the rear and the caboose on the very end, we're just going to shove the whole train forward until the boxcars are clear of the switch in the front. And then we'll pull the train back a little bit to give us space to get in there. You'll see. So we're pushing the boxcars forward, and we have to make sure that they're clear of the switch. So we'll leave them there, and we'll hope they don't roll down the hill. We might have to set some handbrakes, and I put that in quotes because I don't actually have handbrakes. But we'll have to do a little trickery to make them stay put, because they are on an uphill slope. So we'll uncouple. And I'm going to shove that little track eraser in there as my handbrake. And the rest of the train will back up. The idea is we need to be clear of the switch so that the locomotive can run around the train. Now the locomotive is finished running around, and he's coming forward here. Just have to throw the switch. They already lined the switch at the other end for the main line, so they don't need to worry about that. I'm going to come up here and couple up, so I have to kind of remove my little handbrake. And they've coupled up. So now I can back up and spot those two cars. So we throw this switch again so we can back into the industrial spur. And spot. Easy does it. Perfect. We uncouple, set the handbrakes, and we're off to the races. So our work here is done. You can come join the train and get out of Georgetown and head to Winnipeg. We'll pause here because we noticed that we forgot to line the switch for the siding here. One thing I don't have in Georgetown is a bunch of derails, because all of these industries would have derails. They would have to be operated. Start the long climb up to staging into Winnipeg. At some point I should probably put sound decoders in these Bowser units, since they're such nice units. All in good time. All depends on time and money, I guess. Mostly money, because you know, I'm cheap. So that's it for that train. So our last train is CN 403 Winnipeg to Melville. This train is going to have some work in Georgetown. It's going to pull a couple of cars from the CP interchange, the two that are left there, and it's going to spot two CP cars, which are fortunately on the head end. And it's going to pull 4 cars from the Cargill grain elevator at Helene and spot 6 cars So this is a pretty big train, and but it'll go pretty quick. So off we go. So we select 3665, enter, turn on our headlight, good to go. One of my few cars with a graffiti on it. This one here is one I bought at a yard sale. This one, Timmy. It came with the graffiti on it, unfortunately. And looks like I hit a dead spot. I did. See, I hate graffiti so much that the trains even stop when I mention it. Alright, so our train's coming into town. Basically, we'll leave most of the train on the main line, and just the two cars behind the locomotive will stay on because they're going to go into the interchange. And there's the two cars in the interchange that we're going to pick up. So anywhere here is fine. Make the brake. And carry on. So we've gone into the siding, we've thrown the switch for the interchange, and now we have to back up and pull the cars out that are in the interchange. A very familiar pattern. Remove what's there, stick in what's new, spot what's new. So we've coupled. Give them a minute to release some handbrakes. And then good to pull. So we're going to pull it and stick it on the train, and then come back with the CP cars. I'm going to occupy the crossing, so of course I have to blow for it. Put the lock back in the switch, and now we're going to back into the interchange and spot these two cars. I do love the multi-mark, so I tend to buy CP cars that have the multi-mark on them. It's definitely a CP rail sign of the 70s, whereas I model the late 80s, but there were still lots of multi-marks around. There we go into the interchange track, and then we'll just spot it anywhere in there. So at this point, We've put it in the interchange track, tied on the handbrakes, come back out of the main, tied onto our train, done the brake test, and relined all the switches, and we're heading for Helene. I wanted to show you the cursed duck under here so that you get a good look at it before it goes away. I don't know how much of it I'm going to retain for switching. I may have to do some kind of temporary track or something. We'll see. It all depends on how much of the layout I retain. And what my level of enthusiasm is for maintaining it and for doing any work on it. We shall see. I had a little burst of enthusiasm after Caleb came, so that's why I did this series of operations move. But we'll see what happens after I take out the duck hunter. I want to show you one problem about layout of my size and running longish trains, is that in order to pull the train past the switch that goes to Helene here, the head end of the train is actually halfway into staging. See, it's into staging and it's already into the track for staging. So it's really unrealistic, but we just kind of pretend that we don't notice that. So carry on. So let's have a look at our orders. We are to pull 4 cars, BNSF 467, 157, and 3 CNWX cars. They're on the middle track here. So there's the BNSF, 1, 2, 3 CNWX cars. So we're going to pull the 4 cars from the middle, and we have to spot 6. And if we look at this, we could spot 6 on this track here, but we also have to do something about our caboose because it's on the end of our train. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to be really clever and use this built-in runaround track here. So we're going to shove 6 cars into the side here, and I'm pretty sure they all fit. And then we're going to put the caboose on the crossover track back here. So it'll be behind the switcher locomotive. The caboose will end up here. And then when we go to pick up those 4 cars here, we can just back them right onto the caboose. And Bob's your uncle. That's the plan. Let's see if it works. Where did that phrase, Bob's your uncle, come from anyway? I don't really understand it. I'll have to look that up. There's my old tired Nova Scotia Eastern Railway caboose. A little dusty like all my cars. So we'll push him back until he gets to that crossover switch. And then we'll stop and the rear end brakeman will do the job. Now the switches have been lined, keep pushing back. Slowly. Anywhere there is good. Okay to pull ahead. Now we have to make sure that we don't foul the next track. So let's go have a look. So we ended up having to take 2 cars and we're going to shove them in the other track. You'll notice I'm not ringing for the crossing. I'm assuming that the conductor is flagging this crossing, especially when we came in and there was such a long train. The engine was well around the curve. Pardon my reach into the frame. There we go. We'll just spot them, couple them up to the cars that are there, and Cargill will just have to deal with them. Now this is a tricky curve, so we gotta go slow. It's pretty easy to derail on this little curve here. It's pretty sharp. Okay, we coupled. All right, we'll uncouple and we'll go back and get our other cars. All right, now we're coming back, and I sure hope we're gonna clear that car. Yeah, we've got lots of space. At least half a foot. So we're gonna come back, couple out of these cars, assuming the can brakes have already been taken off by the handy people at Cargill. We'll couple up, and then once we confirm a good couple, we're going to couple up air hoses and then keep backing up onto our caboose. While we're doing our other moves, the crew in the caboose have lined up all the switches nicely so that we have a straight shot back to come pick them up so they can finish their work and get home. Coupled up. And we couple up air hoses, do a brake test, and then we're ready to go. One thing we had to be careful of here is not to trap the Cargill switcher. See, he's in a little pocket track here. So we had to make sure that when we left these cars on the 3rd track, that they were clear of the switch. That way he can come up through the switch, couple out of those cars, shove them a little bit, and then he can do a little bit of work to get out. We've kind of trapped him a little bit, and if we were really nice, what we would do when we pulled out is to take these 4 cars and put them on the middle track, and that way he'll have no trouble getting out. So I think that's what we should do. So that move is done. We've uncoupled from the 4 cars that we just put in the center track. So you can see the Cargill switcher has a clear shot out now. So they're happy, customer's happy, we're happy because we're going home, and off we go. That's the end of our operating session. So thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. Please like and comment, and if you haven't already, please subscribe to my channel. And visit my website, modeltraingeek.com. Thanks very much. Hi, ball.